Since we're building a company with self-organized people, it's really crucial that you stick to these rules, otherwise it doesn't work. So first of all, you will manage your people with meetings, and you should have a quarterly planning where you set expectations. You will have weekly huddle, which consists of two areas, weekly planning and retrospective. You will have a daily huddle, 15 minutes on every day. And of course you need to have metrics in place, because what gets measured gets done, and so every role should have a main KPI and additional KPIs which support your main KPI. Let's speak a little bit more about quarterly planning and setting company expectations. So, in quarterly planning, what you want to do is to really bring in the clarity on how are we doing as a company as a whole. And for this, you need to show the metrics, like orders quantity, average order value, profit, what is the current situation, where do you want to go with these numbers. And you have to be specific on those. Then, of course, where are we going? Metrics, again, orders quantity, average order value, profit. What is that you want to achieve in the next 3 months? And your big plans, like projects. And of course, what are the company rocks? Rocks are in a company that are like hurdles, like big problems you need to resolve in order to get to the next level. Every company has those. So these are the things that are really huge, problematic or like issues, or then again things that you need to achieve in order to get to the next level. So ideally you only have like 3 big things you want to achieve, and it's better to achieve 3 big rocks than 5 which are done incompletely. So these have to be measurable. For instance, I can give you an example. These can be like you have expanded your products to different marketplaces, or every role has their own KPIs and every single role knows exactly how to measure those. And you can place those in the weekly planning template you can find from the members area, and you can see here you can set yourself yearly goals and this next quarter rocks that you want to achieve. And so make sure that everybody knows those, and so you can like build projects from those for the next quarter. Now let's speak about the weekly meeting rhythms. So you have basically 2 weekly meeting rhythms. There's a weekly meeting as on the Fridays, where every role will go through the last week they have done, what they have accomplished, what they have not accomplished. They will speak about and present you their metrics, how they have done, are they on track. So because every metric also should have a standards, like which is acceptable standards and not acceptable standards. And of course you move to the weekly retrospective, where you speak about goods, bads, improvements, stuff like that. And you will find training for these meeting rooms in the members area. Then you will move to the next week planning, where your employees basically set the next week goals based on your expectations. And please remember that you need to set clear expectations, and so you also need to make sure that people understand those and know those. Where are you heading with your company? What are the big rocks? What are the accomplishments? Also, what is the expectations per role, like where they have to be in a month, 2 months, and 3 months. And that's one of the biggest issues that company owners do. They don't set clear expectations, they don't write them down. And usually the easiest way to write them down is to really just set a project and assign this person as accountable for this project. So every single week the person has to create next action steps and next action steps to accomplish this project. At the beginning you need to watch like a hawk, that the people know on how to do that, and help them to really set measurable goals and small action steps. If they set too large action steps, they are not able to complete them by next Friday. And time for this is like 1 or 2 hours every week, and you do it every Friday. The next is daily meeting, and daily meeting is basically when you ask them like how are you doing? Basically, do you have any problems achieving your goals? And so you do that 4 times a week from Monday to Thursday. It's maximum 15 minutes. So let's speak about metrics now. You know, what gets measured gets done. So you have to, this is one of the most crucial things, because you can teach an employee everything, but if they don't know how to analyze and really measure their own performance, they cannot achieve anything. So after really training the person, you need to make sure that the person really understands and learns how to measure their own performance. So this way you can set them KPI, and you know, that's where their accomplishment lies, and also failure. So they know constantly how to evaluate themselves and measure their own performance. So you will measure listing optimizer work with one single number, which is his or her main KPI. And check the next video after that where we walk you through the tool and how to use that. And so you can give this training to your listing optimizer, and listing optimizer really understands like how to really make an impact to the company and increasing your conversion rate on the products. And so you also need to explain to the person that this number can either grant them bonus or take their job away. It's up to them to fulfill this. No crying helps. And that's how we building the self-organizing teams and self-organized people, where they really take responsibility of their area and delivering the metrics which are measurable. So make sure they know you expect from them, and that they also need to study and come up different tests to improve conversion rate constantly on the listings. Because if they don't study, if they not keep if they are not interested in this, they are not able to fulfill it. They need to constantly to study, and that's where the improvement comes from. And so help them to get additional training so they can study and come up with better testing ideas for conversion improvement. And of course, next thing you need to do is conduct weekly employee brainstormings. So the first is that, you know, the thing is that the creative team brainstorming improves your critical thinking and problem solving skills as individual and on the team level. And it encourages collaboration on more than just the major projects. Team members often feel more open and, you know, to bouncing ideas off one to another and seeking advice to individual projects when creative team brainstorming is an important part of the work process. And additionally, creative brainstorming works to include different perspectives and improves the team's ability to think outside the box. It's so crucial that you do every week a brainstorming with your team, and so identify the goals before you can, you know, call a session. And assist like the brainstorming process. And you know, brainstorming is where nobody judges anything, and whatever comes to people's mind based on the topic, they can just add to the Google document. So prepare your group prior to getting together, like create Skype meetings and make sure they have the invite to the Google Calendar, and set the time limit. I think maximum is 45 minutes. It's nice, so keep it light, keep it simple, and write everything down. Use one Google document where you have a backlog and weekly brainstorming sessions. Backlog is like an ideas that pop your mind that you need to brainstorm with your team. You want to engage people and make them think, so it's not you only one who needs to think all the time, right? And of course, next thing is create action plan based on brainstormings. So let's get stuff done. Otherwise, why are you doing these brainstormings anyway? If you just brainstorm and you leave it there, nothing will happen. So you need to kind of like create like an action step, like a project and weekly goals, where you can really like maybe create an action steps already, or first action step, how to get closer to that that brainstorming idea or the problem you want to solve. But make sure that you never interrupt the weekly process. Means that whatever you brainstorm and whatever project you will build, you set to the next week, because you don't want to interrupt the current weekly work. And lastly, you have to have like one-on-one meetings with the employee. Please read this article. You can also find this from the members area. It really explains you why this is so important. And as communication in the workplace is often one of the weakest spots of almost all organizations. And since you're having people on Skype, then it's even worse. You need to have them. And the conversation is happening in a relaxed and very natural manner. Put yourself into the background and employee into the focus. Think about them and come up with clear mind and no bad feelings. As a rule of thumb, this manager shouldn't really talk more than 10% of the meeting. Guide it, ask the right questions, but simply listen and sense the employee's motivations and concerns. And so there is no agenda, but it may be helpful to set one of these topics on one-on-ones. And it's basically the general engagement and motivation, team dynamics, learning and development, your leadership style, future ambition and past performance, ideas and requests for change, and learn to do one-on-ones the right way so you can get your employees engaged and let them know that you value them. This will have a huge impact to your employees and to your company. So why all this is important? Power is clarity, and if clarity comes from power, then clarity is planning. And good planning comes from specificity with the deadlines. It means that your action steps are always specific with the deadlines and accountabilities. And so good planning is comes only when you have happy, engaged employees who fit your culture and have right roles and study all the time. Because let me tell you a secret, if they have wrong role, they will not study all the time, even if you push them, and they are not able to keep up the pace with the changes that are happening in Amazon and in the world. And if they don't have a right role, they say it is, but if you see that they are not able to do that, then it's not going to work either. And of course, fit your culture. What is your culture? What are your core values? And so these have to be right in order for employee to be engaged, happy, and really taking responsibility of their metrics. So good precise planning, recurring tasks, road projects with measurable action steps, and which have deadlines and are absolutely necessity to have a peace of mind. And that actually goes to you as well. If you have this feeling that you're busy, it usually comes from that you're not doing the good planning. It means that you really haven't determined what are the most critical things that bring the most result, and really chop down projects to the really specific action steps. So nowadays, those companies win who can take tremendous amount of actions. But if you're doing the planning every single day, it means that every single day you or your employees are sitting behind a computer and thinking, what should I do next? Then you're wasting your energy. You're performing under. You're not performing as well as you could. So that's why you really want to emphasize the weekly planning. It's so important. Even do it like 3 hours or 4 hours if it's possible, but just make sure it's done correctly. And so we are focusing on getting things done with massive amount of executions and continuous improvement. We're studying and testing constantly new tactics is a must. So keep this in mind. If you are personally doing too many recurring tasks already, then you're not able to study and make new ideas either. So the same goes to your listing optimizer. They have to spend most of their time testing ideas and only a little time on analytics and recurring tasks and measuring things. And finally, hire fast, fire faster. No excuses. Either get 100% in or get out. And your job as a company owner is to not demotivate, but motivate people. That's why you have brainstorming, that's why you have weekly huddle, that's why you have weekly planning, that's why you do one-on-ones. You are constantly are interested how your employee is doing, how they are feeling, how they can do more, and really motivate them to do more. Not actually more, but being just smarter. Everybody has 24 hours a day. It's about how we use this time. So make sure you're not motivating. Good listing optimizer is the person who is self-organized, who studies constantly, who knows everything about Amazon listing improvement basics. It's so important. Is master in keyword research and keyword indexing. Knows how to measure its own performance, knows how to build own goals. Smart. Again, goal building is really important, and you need to get this skill before them and make sure that they follow it. And they're constantly coming up with new ideas what to test, because we're living in information age where constantly things change, so we need to keep this mindset that we are testing things all the time. And in summary, you want to have a person who wows you. If you feel constantly that person, just you're dragging person along and they're not coming up with ideas, then you know what, it's not the right person, and believe me, it's not gonna change. But you make sure that you stick to those tasks that I gave you, because then you have done everything that you can to motivate the person, to help the person, to give them training, to really being curious about how they're feeling, how they're doing. And if they're still not performing, it's not the right role for this person. That's it. It's nothing personal. It's just not the right role for this person. And so if person is failing on these, like, you should just fire a person in 4 to 8 weeks. Don't get personal. Means that usually if the person will not wow you in this time, it will never happen, because you have given all support that you can to the person. Now it's up to them to fulfill their promise. So thank you for watching this video, and check the next video where we introduce you the tool, how you can really keep your listing optimizer organized, and where they should measure their own performance. Thank you so much for watching.